Welcome you lovely lot. This is my first of many walk around videos for our Saturday the 20th of July sale here at Manor Park Classics. I know some of you actually like to watch these whilst doing the ironing, so if you have got some ironing to do, there's so many lots, 180 lots for this auction. You could iron for a rugby team and there'd still be some video left at the end. Now you know the drill. If you've been clever, you've liked, subscribed, you've rung that bell, you're getting these early on the Wednesday night, which means you've got 3 days to check out all of these lots. If you want to come and see us in person, that's great, you can register on the day. If you want to bid online, register online as well. And you will want to register online because look at this. Let's get straight into it. I've got too many. I'd love to chat, but I need to tell you about the cars. How about this to start us off? A 1966 Ford Lotus Cortina. Go online now, treat yourself to the site of Jim Clark, beautifully drifting one of these at Brands. Just the car that made Ford and Lotus sit together. Obviously, the F1 was what brought them together. But then this was the car that the everyman could buy and stick on their drive. 34,000 miles this, painted last year, just really nice level of prep, so it's prepared for road rallies, but this is a car that you can drive fully road legal and have an awful lot of fun with, and also very low owners. In the 58 years this car has been around, it's only had 6 keepers. And the paint is absolutely fabulous, I have to say. This is cool, have a look at this. This is all of the stickers and bits and pieces from all the road rallies that this car has been on. So very much a car that you can use, enjoy it as a road car, but if you want to go and have a little bit of fun and compete with it, you can do that. Now, 40 to 45,000 pound is where we've done this, which I think sits very well if you look at Lotus Cortina prices. If you're not familiar with the models, so they have a lot of lightweight panels over the standard Cortina. They're not just a very pretty two-door. You can get them in all sorts of colours, but obviously in terms of resale and in terms of, I think, what looks the best, effectively the team colours with the white and the green is the way to go. Fabulous thing, and as I say, only 6 owners in 58 years. So if you want one for not ridiculous amounts of money, you want that one. And if you've never driven one, they are an utter delight. Talking of cars that are delightful to drive, what about one of these? When was the last time you saw a nice Fiat X1 because they all rusted away, didn't they? The problem with these were they weren't made of the greatest steel. They've all lived in the UK for a lot of their lives, and the salt has got them, but somehow this one has made it through. This is an 88 X19 with 53,000 miles. It's got that beautiful little 1498 overhead 4-cam in. Gearbox and clutch are great. The engine bay is great on this one as well. And the carburettor has recently been rebuilt by Auto Lusso. And just a lovely, lovely thing. What a great spec these are. Now, they're always called the baby Ferrari. What's interesting about these are a Marcello Gandini design. So this is Gandini, of course, who gave us cars like the Miura and the Countach. Also penned this. Isn't it fabulous? I've got to say, guys, the condition of this is really, really nice. Being super hypercritical, I would probably just give the roof a little paint, but the bodywork, the coachwork is absolutely fantastic. Now, I don't really fit in these, which is a great shame because they are stunning. The balance, the fun. I think now with the speed limits the way they are, buying cars that are hilarious at 60 miles an hour is the way to go. This car, I can guarantee, is utterly hilarious at 60 miles an hour. It's got the original jack, many written entries in the book. Timing belt's been done in 2021, only literally 1,000 miles ago. So yes, there's a car to have fun with and enjoy. And I do think, particularly with Gandini sadly passing away, they're going to go up. They really are. They have to, because they're too cheap. What's that going to cost you? Somewhere between 8 and 9 grand, that one. We're talking of cars that are spanking value. Here's a fun thing to do. Go onto the Caterham website, which is always fun. They have an amazing configurator on there. Put in what you want, the spec, the engine, the colour, the options, and see where you get to. You'll be about 40 grand at least before you start, probably nearer to 50. Or you could come and buy this. This is 1993, this one. This is a Super 7 HPC. The HPC stands for High Performance Course. You had to go on a driving course if you bought one of these because they were so quick. And this one has only done 9,700 miles from new. So you are really almost getting a new Caterham here for less than half of what a new one would cost. I also think these were the best wheels that Caterham ever did, I have to say. Engine-wise, one of the best engines you could get. This has got a red top in, and it's the tuned red top, so you've got 220 horsepower. The registration plate comes with it as well. It's got a set of Hancocks on. I think this is one of the bargains of the sale. Like I say, do yourself a favour, go on the configurator, configure this car. This has got the retro wings, which they actually charge a premium for now as well. You couldn't build that car for 45 grand. You couldn't at Caterham. This one's got it all and a red top, which I think is better than the engine that they put in now. Whisper it. As I say, 15 to 17, what a wonderful way to have fun. And again, a car that entertains at any speed. Brilliant at 40, 50, incredible on track, just the best car on track. You will spank things that cost 20 times the price if you own that car. I love that. Fabulous colour as well. Absolutely fabulous. Now, I bet you've never seen one of these. This is a Vauxhall Velox pickup, or it's a ute. So it's from Australia, this is. So we obviously got the Velox, so you'll recognise elements of the British cars. And what happens, so bits of this car were made in Luton, shipped over to Oz, and then basically the Aussies developed their own ute back. So this bit here, all of this back sheet metalwork, was developed by the Australians for Australia, and only they got it. I just think they're absolutely fabulous looking things. It's like a little mini American pickup, isn't it? This is a 53, so on 68,000 miles, and it was restored in 2006, including a respray. So it's sat in all of that paint for 18 years. There's some recent builds for Chromework. It's had 460 odd pounds spent on getting the Chromework redone. So that's all very nice. The interior is very nice. It's had a lovely load cover on the back. And just a super drivable thing. The other thing that's really surprising for a 50s car is if you look inside, it's actually quite big. So I tend to find with a lot of 50s stuff that there isn't a huge amount of legroom in there. But this one has it. It's been upgraded to electronic ignition as well, which is a very useful thing to have. There's a couple of very tiny little bubbles that you can just see there. I mean, I'm being super hyper picky now, guys. This, for a 1950s car, presents incredibly well. I love it very, very much. It's not going to cost a huge amount of money, 10 to 12 grand, incredibly usable, very, very drivable. Could have lots of lives this. It'd be a lot of fun to take to Classic Car Show, or if you have some kind of business that would benefit from a bit of period sign writing down the side, I think park that outside your shop or store, stop the traffic and have a lot of fun in the process. As I say, 10 to 12 grand, you can be the one that takes that home. We always have to have a Fiat 500 because they're so cute. And I do say this every time. There aren't many collections that I know. I've got a lot of people in my social circle that have weird and wonderful car collections, quite a few supercar collectors. Interestingly, anyone who I know who's got Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Paganis, things like that, always has a Fiat 500 in their collection. And why wouldn't you? Because they're just fabulous. The original city car that you can drive and park anywhere. This one I like. It's a well-known car in Fiat circles, this. It's been a show winner in the past. Probably needs just a tiny bit of love to get a show winner status again. The paint is fabulous. Tiny little bit of patination coming through on the chromeworks. If you wanted to treat yourself to some new hubcaps or get those re-chromed and get the wheels refurbished, I don't think you'd be an awful lot to do to get this back into show-winning form again. Great colour, lovely interior. Left-hand drive, which don't let that put you off, because don't forget, if you are going to drive this in town, actually left-hand drive is better because it means you get out on the pavement side. But because it's left-hand drive, it will be a little bit less expensive than the equivalent right-hand drive version. So do not discount it. It's got the roof, which is lovely. Let me open the door so you can have a look inside at the quality of that interior. So our current vendor's had it since 2020. So it's got a lovely history with the previous owner. Like I say, spend a couple of £100 on chrome and details and you will have an absolute stunner there. Fabulous little car. I would like to own that. I don't really fit in it, but I would still like to own it. Look at that, Charles bought me a cup of tea. What a team, what a team. Thank you, Charlotte. Now this is running out of the way. Take the glory of bringing me a tea, I really appreciate it. 1929, Graham Paige, Model 612 Coupe, one of only 12 in the country. So you will not see, probably, you'd be very lucky if you did, another one of these at a show. Isn't it fabulous? I am really starting to appreciate pre-war cars at the moment, because I'm getting old. The aesthetic of them, the usability and the toughness of them. So this is UK registered, came into the UK in 2013. It's got lovely Briggs coachwork. The chrome is fantastic. It's the Graham Paige rear lamp that makes this a standout. And it's got a lovely 6-cylinder 3.1 with a 3-speed manual. So you could just chug this up and down all day. Isn't it great? I would imagine as well, you would probably get, if you were so inclined, register this with a few filming vehicle companies. I would imagine whenever they're filming anything late 20s, 30s, you'd probably get the call, I would imagine. But the nice thing about this era of cars is you get so much car for your money. So this, say compared to 80s or 90s cars, this is a smaller audience. Very passionate, very focused audience. So you'll always find buyers for them. But obviously, just numerically, it's a slightly less amount of cars, slightly less amount of people. So you would buy something this beautiful with this much road presence, and look at the size of it. Just come back here, Fraser. Look at the size of a Fiat 500 versus a Graham Paige Coupe. If you're buying cars by the foot, you're getting a lot more car for your money. And this one will be about £8,500 to £9,500. It really doesn't need much at all. If you want to make it utterly perfect, tiny bit of paint correction on the bonnet. It's just been washed and loved a lot there. A little bit of polish to bring that back to perfection. But doesn't that sit well? Just come and stand here, Fraser, and have a look at that. It's just beautiful. Front 3/4 of that is a fabulous looking thing. Now, we've had a few Esprits here at Manor Park Classics. We love them all. We've had some good price range ones. We've had some good fixer-uppers. But maybe you're now ready to buy the best one in the country. Maybe you thought, I'd like a Lotus Esprit. I'd like the finest one that I can find. I don't want to do any work. I'll just pay all the money and I'll have perfection. Thank you very much. Well, here is your car. If you want, like I say, concours, collection quality car, this has come from a collection, and my word, can you tell? So this one is 2000. So this is all the majesty of the Peter Stevens design. Peter Stevens took the original Giulietta shape, I think, made it even better, which is no easy feat. Very hard to draw over Giulietta's homework and make it even more exciting. But he did somehow, added all of this fantastic fiberglass shape to the back, kept the original cabin, but really made it, I think, one of the iconic cars of the late 90s, early noughties. This one has done 52,000 miles. It's the V8 GT. It's got the OZs on. But just look at the quality of the interior. If we're being brutally honest, Lotus interiors do not take hammer very well. And that is like brand new, isn't it? Absolutely stunning. So signed off on production in 2000. All of the specification you see is absolutely standard. It's got a load of upgrades as well. So it's got the Lotus dampers, the Bilstein shocks. Have a look. I can't really tell you this, too long. But there's loads of paperwork, loads of options, and what you're seeing on screen in terms of quality, paintwork, interior appearance, everything you're seeing on screen is exactly how the car presents in real life. It will not be cheap, I can promise you that. Our vendor's looking for somewhere between 70 or 80, but you could take a car that's 30 or 40 and spend another 20 or 30 getting a car that's not as nice. I always say, if you can, buy the best one you can afford, and don't forget our friends at Fast and Funded, if you're quick, and you're watching this on the Wednesday, you could put a credit line in place to bid on this car, and I guarantee always better to finance a slightly more expensive car that needs nothing than to make an average car good. Always cheaper to do it that way. And also, can we just talk about that colour? That colour, to me, exceptional. A 1960 Alfa Giulietta Spider, stunning car. Again, if you want the best, we've got that. So we like fixer-uppers, we like project cars here, but we always try and have a few cars in the sale that just need absolutely nothing other than an owner, some insurance, maybe a little wax and a little petrol. If you are that buyer, if you just want to jump in, have fun and look stylish, here's your car, there you go. Arguably the best in the world, we are saying. We've looked around this. This is a concours quality car, this one. If you want to enter show and shines and concours or just have a real pride of ownership, here's your motor car. Originally from Arizona, my favourite state to buy cars from because it's so dry and so hot and cars don't rot. So factory specification, and this car has had, I kid you not, ladies and gents, a total nut and bolt restoration. So again, you will be able to buy this car for probably less than the cost of the restoration. Everything's been powder coated, zinc primed, painted, anodized. Whatever the original surface finish would have been on this car's had perfectly recreated. And if Fraser just comes and looks inside things like the wheel arches, just have a look at that. I'm gonna have a little swig of my tea while Fraser just zooms in on beautiful details. There you go, I can't waste that tea as Charlotte's made it. So isn't that gorgeous? Like I say, if you are a collector anywhere in the world, and don't forget we do ship anywhere in the world, so if you're watching this from Italy or France or Germany, any of the countries that suit left-hand drive, even if you're watching in America, we've shipped quite a few cars back to America. We'll ship it back to Arizona for you if you like, with all the hard work done, ready to go. What a lovely thing. Now this, other end of the scale price-wise, but isn't this so brilliant? I am in love with the work of Robert Aupron, the designer. So I have a Citroen CX, which I think is one of the nicest shapes ever made. This is the baby CX, the GS, the 77 GS Special. Isn't it gorgeous? What a great colour as well. Super, super rare car now. You hardly ever find them. As well as being a lovely thing in its own right, can we just talk about, A, the colour of the bodywork, which is an 11 from me, but also look at this interior. I have the same interior in my CX with the same interior colour. I just think it's the best fabric they ever did. Look at this. It's also immaculate, this interior. Look at the way that's worn. It's 1977. Looks like it was made about 3 weeks ago. So the lovely restoration. It's got the 1015 engine, had a complete retrim in 2023, which explained why it looks like it was done 10 minutes ago, because it actually was done 10 minutes ago. Look at that. Isn't it fabulous? It really has had a huge amount of money spent on it. Loads of paperwork, original manuals, sales brochures, loads of MOT, loads of receipts, a stack of history. What I love about this, I don't know if you've ever driven one, they drive beautifully. They really do, they waft along. But they're just a brilliant shape. Very ahead of their time. Can you believe that's a 70s shape? And the colour's just so jolly. Really smashing little thing. You won't break the bank buying that. You'd buy that for somewhere between £6,000 and £8,000. The, oh yes, comes as standard in the back. Believing that in. That is all part of the appeal. You get the nodding dog. Isn't that just stunning? And as we say from time to time, you won't find another one. Certainly not in that condition for that price. Just, again, cost up what it costs to paint one of those and trim one of those. That's your money. You get the car for free. I love a Triumph Herald. All those driving schools in the 1960s, can't be wrong. Just a super usable, very easy to drive car. These were many people's first car. As I say, many driving schools in the 60s had them. Because two things. One, they have the tightest turning circle this side of a London taxi. But everything, all the controls are light, easy to use, wonderfully easy to drive. And for those reasons, they make a fabulous classic today. Super usable, nice to live with. Look at this inside. Black coachwork with a red interior. Look at the way that lights up on the dash. And tell me you don't want that. Have a look inside there, Fraser. Look at that. This is a 59. Now, this is very, very early. And again, it shows how clever this design was. 1959, very early. Loads of paperwork to evidence all the parts it's had, and a photographic restoration. Now, how am I judging that restoration? It's very presentable, as you can see. The paintwork I'm going to give, let's give it a 7. You can see it's a tiny bit orange peely on the roof. Paintwork's very good. I would, you know, guys, I would either wet flat this or pay a good valeter to correct this paint. And you would have an exceptional car because the interior is very, very nice. There's just a tiny bit of orange peeling on the paint. Don't forget, this is a 1959, and it's not going to be a huge amount of money. But for not a massive investment, you could make that really exceptional. Wonderful old 3x3 registration number as well. What a great looking car. I love it in black as well. So it's an engine rebuild. It was a barn find in 2011, and it drove here, and we've driven it, and it drives beautifully. 2 keys and a V5C, ready to go. And don't they look nice as a 2-door? Of course, it's everything exempt as well. So ULEZ exempt, tax exempt, MOT exempt. So that will be a cheap car to run. Very, very easy to get parts for these cars as well. So have some fun with that. Now look who's come back home. Isn't it wonderful to see this again? So if you don't know, Drew and I had the privilege, and I would stress that word, the privilege of doing this car on our show. And I cannot take any credit for how brilliant this car looks. This is all down to a genius of a man called Mike Dobson who bought this car. Or the car was bought for him, believe it or not, by his mum in the late 60s. Mike was clearly a very lovely guy, but also an incredibly tasteful modifier. So in the late 60s, early 70s, when everybody else was doing things like wolf-race slot mags, jacked up gas-style suspension, metal flake murals, Mike went down the incredibly tasteful route of doing what you see here. So he went and did all sorts of incredible stuff, and it's so subtle, most of it looks OE. So if you look inside this interior, everything from the dashboard, the seats, the door cappings, is all custom. That's Triumph dash, believe it or not. Never mind your GT3 RS, look, this has got a full roll bar and hoop in the back. He did custom Coney suspension, custom back seats. All of this work is fully custom, but because it looks so factory, you wouldn't know. I say he went to Coney in the 60s, had them do custom dampers for it. He had custom anti-roll bars made for the car, which nobody offered. He then went to Bill Blydenstine. Now, if you know your Vauxhall tuning, Bill Blydenstine was the tuner. If you remember Big Bertha, Jerry Marshall, all those amazing Vauxhall cars, Blydenstine was the guy that made them quick, made them win. He also did road car conversions. So this car went to Blydenstine, and then the real kicker for this one, guys, is not just the fact that Blydenstine, the company, did the engine on this car. Bill Blydenstine himself did the head and the conversion work, because when he did the work on the cars, he put his own initials on the head. And when we did the rest on this car, we found his initials. So not just touched by a wonderful company, touched by the hand of the master himself. So much money went into this car when we did it on the show. We did all the underneath. It is beautiful underneath. This paint, believe it or not, is mostly original. Most of this paint is original paint. It's had such an easy life, this car. It's got a tiny little bleb just coming through on the arch. tiny, tiny bit there, which I'm guessing is from stone chips over the years, I would probably paint that just as a preservative measure. But I can't tell you how much fun this car is to drive, and also the history of it. Watch the episode. I think the episode's up on YouTube, but also as well, pull the history. So this was in Custom Car Magazine, Street Machine Magazine. It's a proper OG survivor of a little moment in time. Great thing. It's quite a little tiny dent in the roof, I've noticed, since we restored it. So pop that out. What a thing. Even we did the boot. Look at this. We even did the boot as well. There you go. So we had some incredible mechanics on Salvage Hunters. We had Michael and Dave and Sam and Paul Brackley, probably some of the most talented technicians in the world. They did all the work on this car. I think they're some of the finest spanners ever to have walked the earth. Look at the detailing we did here. Look, all these little carpet inlays, all these boot inlays. It's so nice. This is the stuff that we added. Yeah, you know, I can't claim credit, like I said. The hard work and the concept of this car was all Mike's, but we just took something that was very special and just finished it for him because it had been in storage for a long time. Do bid on that. It's a great thing. It's a wonderful bit of telly history, but also just a wonderful bit of custom car history. Not many people at that time were doing cars that clever or that tastefully. So do watch the episode. You'll see the work that went into it. Things like Wayne Allman making this amazing grille. The Dunlop S1s, they're genuine Dunlop S1s. Everybody's got repros now. They're the real deal. What a thing, what a thing. So lovely to have that back. 10 to 12 grand, which I can promise you is a fraction of what we spent on it. You could own that car, and I will be insanely jealous if you do. And I will personally hand that over to you with great pride. One of my favourite projects on the show, that was. Now here we're moving on to, wow, there's about 10 pages of description on that car. So do read that. Whatever you think that car is, times it by 10. That's what it is. Now, cars that I cannot explain why I really, really want to own, cars that have never appeared in my top 300 cars I would like to own until I saw them. This. Isn't it cute? 1953 Austin A40 Sports. I'll be honest with you guys, it's not really a car I've had a massive amount of exposure to. And I now hugely regret that because there's something about this car. This car has that indefinable X factor that all good car collectors suddenly want to buy for no explicable reason, other than the fact it sits right, the colour's right. Have a look at the pictures and the video of this. Isn't it beautiful? So this is a 53, everything exempt, as you might imagine, loads of paperwork, and they only made 849 of these, which is probably why we haven't really seen them. But I have to say, in terms of Austin styling of the period, how very resolved this is. It doesn't really matter where you sit or look at it, whether it's the rear bustle, the wheel proportion, the wing, something about this car, and very much the colour, that 1950s colour. Isn't it absolutely stunning? So what else can I tell you about it? So it has been overseas. It's got loads of old MOTs with it as well. And it is a rare. It's got a new hood, matching tonneau. And it's just a thing, absolute thing. Now, we've already had some commission bids on this, so if you are interested, do not hang about. I know we've had some bids from all over the world on this, actually. So please register your interest. If you would like to come and see it, don't forget this is Wednesday that we're filming these. This will go up Wednesday night. You've got Thursday, Friday, a little bit of Saturday morning. We love you to come and have a look. If you have any questions, if you'd like to have a look at the paperwork, you can do that online or in person. We very much welcome you to have a look at all of these cars prior to sale date. Then you can bid in confidence, knowing exactly what you've got. Now, my favourite thing about this job, I've been here for 3 years now, is this has become like the phone box in your village where people put a book in and they take a book out. And we're now starting to get cars that we've sold before when people have had a year or two's worth of fun out of them, and then they come back and they swap it in and they have something else. And that's exactly what we want to be. We want to be your toy box. Buy a car or a bike, have some fun with it, bring it back a year or two later and buy something else. So this one's had a huge amount of fun. It's been in the collection. And that's also the nature of collectors. We're quite transient people. We get bored easily. And then when we've had a Vista to look at for a little while, we're like something else. So this one's back in and it's your chance to own it now and making me very jealous. Andy Rouse needs no introduction. If you're a Ford fan or a touring car fan, you know who Andy Rouse is. Not only a phenomenal engineer, but an incredible touring car driver. Won a lot, mainly in Sierras. And for that reason, he is probably the guy I would want to go to tune my Sierra. This is a Rouse Engineering 1990 RS Cosworth Sapphire. Just the thing. The Cosies were great cars, but they weren't that quick. But the Rouse cars were. The Rouse cars were very quick. So this is, again, a collector quality car. So you get the really subtle Rouse aero on. So you can see you've got the deeper front lip. You've got the little spats on the side there. Loads of paperwork. Best colour combination for a Cosie? I think it has to be. So they made 78 of these. And this is number 45 and was completed on November 1990. Bought through a Ford dealer, so don't forget, this was a genuine approved product, this one, bought through Ford dealers. All the RS bits and pieces, it was a grand total of £31,760. Now, if you add in the cost of the Roush conversion, it's nearly 40 grand. Wow. What a lot of car. Just almost faultless cars, really. This is going to be pretty much like you going back to Peacock. So you've got your wood cappings, look. Got your beautiful Recaros. Isn't that fabulous? Now, we know fast forwards are good news. We know anything homologation-y is good news. So I would argue that a Rouse-prepared Sierra Cosworth has to be one to tuck away. Also, enormous amounts of fun to drive. Four-wheel drive as well, so you've got something to cope with all of that power. Just superb. So do have a look at that. If you are interested in buying a fast Sierra that's going to, I think, appreciate and give you lots of fun in the meantime, £35,000 to £40,000 would put that into your garage, and my word, you would have a lot of fun every time you took it out. Other cars I can pretty much guarantee will not lose money and maybe even make a few quid. Mark 1 Ford Focus RS, fully restored car this, and probably the best one we've seen. Now, what's nice about this, for me, is it's the sweet spot. It's had a ton of work, a ton of money spent, but it's slightly higher mileage. Because the problem with these Mark 1 Focus RSs, a load of people tucked them away. There's a handful of cars out there that have sat in people's garages with 3,000 miles on. And I guarantee now you'll never be able to buy one of them. They'll always be stupid money. And if you do buy it, you'll never want to use it because you'll just kill it with the mileage. This is perfect because 73,000 miles with monster history, a ton of money spent, but you can use it. And because of the higher mileage, despite all of the beautiful work done, it's not going to be, in fast forward terms, massive amounts of cash. 20 to 25 grand to buy you this. So it's the usable Mark 1 Focus RS, and the paintwork is phenomenal. It's been really nicely done, this. Please do pull the history on this car if you're looking to buy it. It is insane. So this has got, let's have a look. Wow, these were £19,995 new. So it's going to make at least that, I would have thought. Tons of services, 7 service records in there as well, and a whole heap of invoices. 1 invoice in there. So all the subframes and everything have been off this. So it looks nice on the top, doesn't it? But underneath, where it really counts, it's just as nice. So everything's been off, shot blasted, powder coated. One bill for doing all of that, just detailing, 6.5 grand alone. So, like I say, pull the bills. You will be amazed, flabbergasted. And if you're thinking of buying it, I think you'll be quite reassured. So your chance to buy a truly collectible car that you can use, will not lose money. And wherever you go in a Mark 1 Focus RS, you get the nod. Everybody knows. Everybody knows that you're a discerning lady or gent of taste. Now, I love this. I've got a thing for Japanese cars. I've got a thing for period modified Japanese cars that have got all the right bits on. If you want a Supra, the 2 Supras you want, you either want one with all the correct tuning bits on, or you want an absolutely standard one. Now, we've sold a couple of really nice standard cars. This is the other end of the scale with all the right tasteful tuning bits on, based on a twin turbo manual car in 1996. So it's ticking every single box for me. And interesting with Supras, I say it would be the unmodified cars that always fetch the telephone number money, but the next best thing is one with the correct parts on, and this has them all. 80,000 miles, twin turbo, RZ, imported by JM Imports in 2010, BC coilovers, got the wide body kit on it, got new leather, again, tons of bills, just loads of stuff. Only 2 keepers in the last 14 years, so we really know where it's been. Isn't it just gorgeous? All the right bits for me, this. All the right bits. And if you haven't driven one of these, they are ridiculously fast. Bodywork's great. As I say, there's bills for nearly 5 grand for interior tidies and bits and pieces. What a fabulous car. Look at that wing with your carbon fibre blade there. Isn't it fabulous? And the way the wide body kit's been fitted, it's been done very well. It's been blended in, but it has been done seamlessly. No cracks, no issues, the right wheels. Love it. Again, because nice cars are hard to find, and we know, particularly now these are eligible to go back to the US, which I think that one very well might, or Australia. I can imagine we'll get some bids on that one from Australia. That will be a very cheap car in Oz at the moment and very desirable. 30 to 35,000 pounds, that one. Again, please do pull the spec, have a look. Tons of money spent, just a wonderful thing. And really correct for period as well. Love it. Specification, when you order a Porsche 911, there are things you can do to make life a lot more fun to drive but when you come to sell, everybody's going to want to buy it. And this, I think, is perhaps, with one exception, and I'll talk about that, probably the most beautifully specified Porsche 911 997 that I have ever seen. I would very much like to own this car. Whoever spec'd this car from new was a genius. It's any way to describe it. 2004, so 20 years old, although you'd never know. First of all, Carrera 2S. So two-wheel drive, big fat tick. S, which means we've got the gorgeous wide body. Manual, all the things. Fabulous colour, factory roof, leather, extended leather, sports chrono, lobster claws, which I think are the wheel for an early 997 Gen 1. Just stunning. The only thing, it's got Bose upgrade as well. The only thing they didn't put on this car was heated seats, which I don't understand why. Poor salesmanship, whoever did that. Rear wash wipe, look at it. It's every option you want. And it is stunning. Look at the condition of the leather. So whoever's had this car has maintained it, I would say, regardless of cost. The paintwork is lovely. The leather is lovely. As I say, you cannot spec a car better than this. 20 stamps in the book, 8 services, 1 from renowned Porsche specialist Jasmine, brake fluid changes, 4 long life services, all the MOTs. I think this car will fetch a good amount of money, but I do think this is all of us out there. So I have a 997 GTS. It's probably my favourite car that I have to drive, and it's basically the same car. GTS is a little bit quicker. It's got the 3.8, it's got the performance pack, but you are buying all the same ingredients of the run-out car, wide body, manual, fabulous. You could buy that for somewhere between 25 and 30 grand. I think you could not lose money on that car, even if you pile miles onto it, and believe me, you will want to. But just look at the back, look at the haunches you get on the Carrera S. Also, this owner, I think, very tastefully has fitted wheel spacers to give you that perfect track to the edge of the wing. What a thing. And lobster claws are the wheel for 997. Stunning. I would very much like to own that, and I think for the money that they are, there's some GTSs sold recently for well into the 70s, and you're basically, although that's a Gen 2 car and that's a Gen 1, it's the same ingredients, 25 to 30. It's not half the car. It really isn't. If you like your stuff a little earlier, a little sportier, a little more open top, how about this? 1952 MG TD, 47,000 miles, drives and presents beautifully. You cannot go wrong with an old MG. Again, very wonderful spares backup, lovely club, fantastic people to help you to keep this old girl on the road. And it's just fabulous. It's got the right 1250 engine. It's got the period style boot rack on the back as well. Lots of lovely chrome work. The paint works great. It's had seat belts put in, which isn't as daft as it sounds because it's quite nice to make you feel a little bit safer when you're bowling along. And just a very nice car. We did one of these on the show as well, a TD. I think this is a nicer colour combination. They do look good. And don't forget, MG is celebrating 100 years this year. So I think interest in MG generally will go up. There's a lot of wonderful events for you to take part in. I was just at Goodwood last weekend. MG sponsored the whole thing. And understandably, they're making a very big noise about the fact that they are 100 years old. Interestingly as well, MG is still making sports cars. It's just brought out the Cyberster. It's electric, kind of everything, but very nice looking. And at Goodwood, they launched the GTS, which is a coupe. So MG is very much still in the sports car business. I think that will keep people looking at the older cars and wanting to buy them. So I think that market, because of the ease of ownership, will stay buoyant for a very long time. 12 to 14 grand, that could be yours and doesn't need anything really. Just wash it and enjoy it. There isn't this interesting, that's the start of the 50s. This is the end of the 50s for MG. What a jump. Don't know what the designers were smoking during that period, but my word, didn't they progress? Of course, fully monocoque. MJ really is a very special car for lots of reasons. A, if you look at how well it did in competition, the fact you had people like Sterling Moss involved with it. I think it's a kind of affordable XK alternative in terms of its styling and its ability. You've got all of the competition, the rallying association, which really makes it a desirable car. And again, just a lovely thing to own and drive. This one is a 58. Really well maintained, lovely colour combination. Had a full restoration in 2004, so a 20-year-old restoration, and it still looks as good as that. Tons of invoices, tons of paperwork, including the heritage certificate. And it was actually a car from South Africa, which does explain why it's so rust-free and lovely. So it was actually restored out there and then brought over here. It's had engine oil and filter change, gearbox change, adjustment of brakes, differential oil change. So it's just been looked after, loved. Let me open that door for you, Fraser. Look at that. Look at that. The amazing thing as well, you know, guys, I'm 6'4" with very long legs. I fit in these. I don't know how, but they're bigger than you think. MJs and MGBs are unusual for their period. And despite being a very compact sports car, you can actually put big lads in them, or big lasses. It's got, that's nice as well, the luggage rack, which makes life a little bit easier if you're going touring. And I think you'd want to with that. Isn't that pretty? So yeah, obviously from a very dry, rust-free state of South Africa. Yeah, and all the better for it. I like that very much. So that's going to be, let me give you some price indication of that, 16 to 18,000, and again, needs nothing. Just go and put yourself in there and have some fun. Strap your suitcase or your picnic hamper on the back and go touring. Now, if you want a nice, very pretty, we've had quite a lot of people, interestingly guys, this is always a good sign. A lot of retailers have been coming to look at this car, therefore, which suggests to me they very much feel it would look good on the showroom floor. It's a retail quality car, this one. 1977 MG GT. You either love or you hate the rubber bumpers. I really don't mind them at all. What I love about the rubber bumper cars is very good for everyday life. If you're parking in a street or car park and someone gives you a nudge, it's not going to cause loads of damage or any damage at all. They're also much more affordable. You get a lot more car for your money with a rubber bumper car. This one is 55,000 manual with electric power steering, which is such a good upgrade on these as well. It's got a Webasto roof, so you've got the best of both worlds. It's got the overdrive and that's working, and it presents and drives beautifully. Have a look at the paintwork and the interior. It's got a lovely mountain wheel on it as well. It just is very clean, which is why I think, team, we've had a few dealers sniffing over this because they realise this is a car that you can buy from auction. You don't even need to wash it or wipe it. Literally, stick it in the showroom, put a profit on, and everyone needs to make a profit. So you could beat them to it and buy it from us. There you go. What a lovely thing. And again, all of these MGs, we've got a nice little lineup of MGs for you here. You cannot get a better starter classic. If you're coming into the classic car game for the first time, I would say a rubber bumper MG GT is probably the perfect place to start. There is stuff on this car, whatever you need for this car. There's a wonderful bunch of specialists out there, people like MotorClan, have all the stuff for this car on the shelf. You could order it today, Wednesday, it'll be with you tomorrow, Thursday. Probably easier to look after this car than a Ford Escort or a Ford Focus. Just blissful ownership experience, great fun to drive, dead cheap to insure because all the insurers understand them and know that they're cheap to repair. Just no downside to owning that car at all. No downside. And of course, it's a hatchback. If you've got a dog, you can take him with them. 77 MG Midget 1500 in British racing green. The archetypal British sports car in the archetypal British colour. And everything I've just said about rubber bumper BGTs goes for midgets too. Obviously, they're not quite as loved as the chrome bumper cars, but they're no less fun. They're probably a little bit cheaper to buy and a bit easy to live with. Drives and presents really well, this one. Lovely colour. Let's have a look. It's got, we think, a colour change in 2005 from red to green. Lots of history on that. And we think, you know, looking at the history, this is a heritage shell. So at some point, this car has been built into a heritage shell. So do have a look to satisfy yourself. But that would explain an awful lot to me why this car has no visible rust on it whatsoever. Also, guys, have a look. Go on BMH, British Motor Heritage. Have a look at what the shell for a midget costs. And when you've recovered, have a little cheeky bit on this one. Heritage shells are a wonderful way to do a restoration, but my word, and it's an expensive way to do it. A lot of money, thousands and thousands of pounds to buy the shell. Then you have to paint it, more thousands of pounds. Then you've got to build all of your parts back into it. And of course, you're not just going to put old rusty parts back in. You're going to renew or replace. So this car, if you did this car to this standard yourself, you would be well into somewhere between 20 and 30,000 pounds. Or you could buy this one for somewhere between 5 and 6. So going back to what we're saying, always if you can, unless you really enjoy the process of a restoration, that's different. If you enjoy being in a workshop with a mug of tea, spannering away, having fun, get a project. If you just want to jump into a car, save an utter fortune, and have a lot of fun, I would do something like that. 5 to 6 grand, drive it for 2 or 3 years, bring it back here, get your 5 or 6 grand back, free car. What's not to love about that? Right, another British bruiser this time. So I had the privilege of sitting down with Ian Callum last week. We did an Intercooler Live podcast. And since looking at Ian's back catalogue of amazing work and Jaguars in general of that period, it's really made me appreciate what fine looking cars these are. 2012 Jaguar XKR 5 litre coupe. This is a baby Aston, isn't it? Look at this. Look at the roofline, the glass house, the tail sweep, the haunches. What I love about this period of XK, you have got, I think, all of the elements of a much more expensive car, like the Aston, for a fraction of the cost. What's nice about the XKR though, this is a genuine performance car. This just isn't all show and no go. This is all show, all go. A genuinely quick motor car, this. 18,000 miles, so incredible spec and performance on this on an XKR, full service history, a fresh MOT, and I think going forward, these will be the cars to appreciate just because they are so astonishingly quick. 7 services in total on this car. I think it's an investment quality car, this one. The mileage, the colour, the specification, it's all there. They make the most wonderful noise and they are superbly quick. 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds and a car that will do 174 miles an hour. So not the Aston's poor relative. This will spank quite a lot of Astons, quite a lot of Ferraris as well. It's a genuine supercar. It is a true supercar. And you will buy that for somewhere between 24 and 26,000 pounds, which is phenomenal. Now this is very nice. I do love any SL of any era, but for me, Pagoda is the one. So 1967, 250 SL with a ton of mechanical work. Again, going back to what we're saying, top of this market, you can get into 6 figures for a Pagoda SL now. Left-hand drive makes it a little bit cheaper to buy in the UK. But the bizarre thing is when you come to sell, if you advertise it, it can go for more money because obviously in Germany, France, Spain, they're all left-hand drive countries, particularly they're hotter countries in a lot of cases as well. And that's where these cars end up going, or even back to America. This one's done 39,000 miles. It's had a recent body restoration. It's got that lovely Becca Mexico, which is just a wonderful little touch there. Undamaged hood in perfect working order, and it's even had some woodwork done as well. But have a look at that. Let's give you some idea of costs. It was once in the London Motor Museum. It's had loads of money spent on it, including an interior retrim, costing 10 grand. Genuine Mercedes exhaust. Can't imagine that was cheap. In May 2024, listen to this. New rear shocks, brake calipers, kingpin bushes, steering idle box, replace the gearbox filter and sump gasket. It's got bills, guys. We love cars with bills. They tell us 2 things. A, that you don't have to spend any money on it, and B, that the car's been loved. So do have a look. Because it is left-hand drive, you will pay a little bit less than if that was a right-hand drive. 65 to 75 grand, you could buy that. It is as lovely as it appears. The only thing I would change on that, you know, I'll just put some black and silvers on. But the only thing I would change on that, I think the car would hugely benefit that aesthetically and it would look fabulous. Really, really nice. But have a good look. Yeah, we think that car was from Texas, which again explains why the body is so good. Now, do you like a project? Do you want something rare, unique, that not many other people have got, that really is a bit of motoring history, that needs a lot of work and a lot of love, but will certainly be worth your time and effort if you do? 1947 Allard L-Type Roadster has been in storage for 53 years. It's remarkably good, guys, I have to say. Now, you could go Audrey Pritchard. This has got the most remarkable patina I think I've ever seen. There's a very strong case for leaving this like it is and getting it running and working beautifully. I think wouldn't it be fabulous? People pay thousands to get cars to patinate like that. This has done it all by itself. And it's incredibly solid, that's the thing. Don't be fooled by this very, very light surface corrosion. This is actually a very strong little car. I think it's fair to say you might need to call the trimmer. I think that's fair to say. And certainly the roof has seen better days. The bows and frame are very, very good. So all of the ingredients are there. It's been the current owner and dry stored for 53 years. We think this is the 4th oldest L-Type loaned. We think that it's got an unused crate 21 stud Ford V8 engine with it as well. So that's literally a brand new crate motor to go into it. It's got the old Elco radio. It's got a downdraft Ford carburettor and a Burgess air filter. So everything is there, including, as I say, a new crate motor to put it all back together again. And it was registered on the 19th of September, 1947. So you think that's mad? We're only talking 2 years after the war finished and people are already building and buying cars like this. It was originally blue with a blue interior. In the 1950s was changed from cream and grey. So you could either put it back to its original build specification. Loads of stories, loads of history with this car. It is a big, beautiful motor car. And I think it deserves to live again. And I don't think it's going to take, you know, huge amounts, particularly on the body. You're not going to have to spend loads on the bodywork to get this into good state. You're going to have to paint it, obviously, but you're not putting panels in. There is no structural corrosion on any of these body panels. So what do? Do you fully restore it? Do you just enjoy it as it is? Put that crate engine in? You decide. The nice thing is, Despite all of that provenance, all of that amazing backstory and the rarity of the car, you will only pay somewhere between 10 and 12 grand for that one. Now, if you're an Aston Martin fan or a Ford Capri fan, you will know the name Tickford, obviously the great converters and bodywork specialists. This is a 1936 Vauxhall DX146 Tickford Saloon. So this is where they were doing their work before both those names got involved. Isn't this great? Look, this is 7 to 8 grand you could buy this for. 1936, full Tickford conversion, and we think it's the only one left. This has it all for me. Sit up and beg body, full rollback roof, look, full kind of launderette convertible roof on this as well. Drives really well. That winds, it's got indicator conversion, it's got its original green logbook. It's probably got the best patinated leather interior I've ever seen on the car. I wish you could just see how nice that looks. It's got a very nice hood on it as well. What else can I tell you? Registered in 1936 to a lady doctor. You'd never know it was a convertible when the roof's up. That's the thing. It really feels like a car. But you have got the best of both. You've got suicide rear doors, which are great. Look at that. But I like the fact, A, it's very price rangy. You're not going to spend a huge amount of money to buy this. But no one else has got one. How many cars can you buy that look this good? Will get you all of that fun. Imagine driving this. I guarantee everybody will let you out of a junction. Everybody will wave at you. Everybody will talk to you when you fill it up. And you're going to spend somewhere between £7,000 and £8,000 to buy it. That never happens. I think the indicator conversion is very tasteful as well, if you look. So that just makes the car a lot more visible. A lot of these early cars have semaphores or trafficators. People don't see them. They're not used to looking for them. So that's a nice upgrade. Very sensible thing to do with very period in-keeping looking lights. It's got 15,000 showing on the Odo, which I would guess is probably a speedo reset. It's phenomenal. It's really nice condition. Very presentable, very tidy, but not so perfect you wouldn't want to use it. I just think it's great. Isn't that fabulous? Decent sized legroom as well. So if you are taller, bid on that and have some fun. I just don't think for that amount of money there's anything you could buy in this sale that would give you more joy. That's what we're all about. Who knows how long we can drive petrol cars for? Let's put the joy back into motoring. Now here is an example. I say this a lot. Don't lease a new car. A, because 90% of them are boring and rubbish. And also, you're literally hiring a car. Take the money that you would have spent, which is probably somewhere between 14 and 25 grand, depending on what it is that you're going to buy a 90s Mercedes. A 90s Mercedes will do everything a modern car will do, except lose money, basically. Just as usable, just as tractable, if you maintain it correctly, just as reliable, 3,000 times more stylish than almost every modern car that's affordable. And if you waft anywhere in this 95 E320 convertible, I guarantee doors will open for you, slashes will part, and people will want to be your friend. Isn't it fabulous? 112,000 miles, or what they say in Stuttgart, running in mileage on this one. Very rare condition, wonderful colour, loads of paperwork, and it's a Sportline suspension. Best colour combination as well, have to say. This car will be here long after you and I have both gone, if you look after it. Look how the leather's worn. This is Mercedes at the height of Mercedes, basically. This is when cars were very much being built up to quality rather than down to a price, when engineering was much more prevalent than accounting. And for those reasons, these are the Mercedes we should all buy before they get ridiculous. You'd buy this for somewhere between 11 and 13 grand. So that is, if you did, let's have a look, if you did a 300 quid a month lease for 4 years, that's about 14 grand. And you'd never see that money again. Put 14 grand into this, it will be here for the next 30 years. And can you imagine driving to work in that? It's just simple, elegant, understated style that will last forever. That's what we should all do. Buy a 90s Mercedes. It's the last car you'll ever need to buy. Now, maybe like many people, you have wanted to own an E-Type. Now, the early E-Types are the ones that everyone goes gooey-eyed for. The OBLs, as they're called, the outside bonnet locks, the flat floors, the series ones with the faired-in headlights. They are beautiful, wonderful cars. I would say the later cars, the V12s, these Series 3 cars, are a little bit easier to live with, probably a little bit easier to drive, and probably more usable. Because this is a 73, like me, 50 years old. Doesn't look it though, does it? 47,000 miles. A lot of this car is original, fantastic history file with very low owners, and it's got a factory hardtop and the original wheels. Now, 65 to 75 grand for this because it is so, so nice. Service history goes back many years. It's a matching numbers car with its Jaguar heritage certificate. The bodywork was refreshed in 2008, had 2 new doors, new headlamp panels, offside sills, complete respray, all documented. The roof's in lovely shape on this one as well, and it's got a brand new set of wheels and P4000s. Just one of those cars that's been maintained regardless of cost. Like I say, it won't be the cheapest example out there because the best never is. 65 to 75, manual car, wafting along behind a V12. What could be nicer? So beautiful car, all the money for that one because it is so nice. What if you are a little bit handy yourself and you want to fix one up? How about going 10 years earlier, 1963 E-Type 3.8, matching numbers car, ripe for restoration. If you are a restorer, here is your next project. If you don't mind getting your hands dirty doing a little bit of the work yourself, 53,000 miles on this one. Again, matching numbers car. It's been dry stored for 50 years. It's time for this car to have a new life, isn't it? Green logbook. It's largely complete. We've had a good look at this. We think 90-something% of everything you need on that car is there to go. Hood and frame is on there. It's got some genuine E-Type door skins that come with it as well, and a full box of trim, a luggage rack, and a Harry Moss car jack ready to go. But that's 30 to 35 because of what it is. It's been off the road for 50 years, don't forget, so please bear that in mind. And it's got later style headlights on a Series 1.5. So this is a Series 1. So somebody has modded this, so you could put this back to what it should be, to the more desirable fared-in look. You can see here, look. This has had later upright headlights. Someone's tried to make this car look later than it is, which is hilarious because obviously now everybody wants to do it the other way around. To put that back to Series 1 spec, that will be worth a lot of money and be hugely desirable as well. And matching numbers. I'm not sure if that's the original colour. If it is, I would also be strongly suggesting to go back to that. It's not bad, you know. It really isn't horrendous where these go. But if you are bidding, either please have a look at all the photographs, and of course you're very welcome to go have a look in person to make sure you know what you're buying. This is nice. Again, a classic car staple that really cannot lose money. One of the last E30s. E30s at this point, so this is very late. So 1992, this would have been sold in BMW showrooms alongside the E36 that have sat together in 1992. The E36 had come out at this point, but they still had some sell-throughs of the old E30 cab. Now, E30 prices are interesting because they have gone ballistic. Anything that's two-door, anything that's coupe, convertible, they're the ones that are fetching the money. 318i, 87,000 miles, automatic, pure wafter. Not the fastest E30 ever made, but certainly one of the most drivable. Drives and presents really well, huge amount of history, a couple of tiny details to do, but I like cars like that. This is a car that you'll have a lot of fun driving today and enjoy, and tiny things like little bits of trim to rear fix, things like replace the spring on the trim cover, tiny niggly things that you can just go out on a Sunday and do and make it your car and perfect it. But in the meantime, you're driving it, you're enjoying it, you're having all of that fun. And if summer ever comes in this country, this is the way I'd like to spend it. I do think this is probably our last chance to buy half sensible E30s, specky ones, for under 10 grand. We've estimated this at 8 to 9. I don't think it belongs before these are 13, 14, 15 grand, like the E-Class Mercs. And we all wish we bought one while they were 4-figure cars. That's great, lovely colour as well. Paintwork's good, just car presents really well. Like I say, not a perfect car, but for that reason, you're buying at a bit of a bargain. If it was perfect, it'd be 15 grand. Make it yours, make it perfect, add value, have fun, and get a tan. Right, next. Now this is an amazing car belonging to an amazing man. To come with me was Mr. Fuzz Townsend, very much still a friend of the business and a lovely, lovely man. This is Fuzz's own personal Austin 7 Beaufort Special, which, believe it or not, somehow Fuzz fits in. He's a tall, handsome man, and if he can fit in there, I would suggest that you can too. I think he folds himself in. He's also very lithe for a man in his 60s. What can I tell you about this? First of all, Fuzz has owned it, so let's assume mechanically it's probably at the top of its game. One of only 3 Beaufort Specials, built on an Austin 7 long wheelbase chassis this, Phoenix crank, 4-into-1 exhaust manifold, close ratio 4-speed gearbox. This is a proper sport. This is the Caterham of its day, basically. This is a silly sports car that's loads of fun. And we were talking earlier, weren't we, about cars you can have insane amounts of fun within the legal speed limit. Here you go. I would imagine as well eligible for all sorts of sporty events and trials. Just look at the way it sits. Just go to the front, Fraser, and look at the front 3/4 of this car. What a fabulous thing. I would imagine Fuzz would be happy to do some kind of handover, or at least talk you through what you need to do to get the most out of this car. It is beautiful, I have to say. Let me give you a little bit more. So it hit the road in 2011. It's taken part in numerous events, club tours, runs, Prescott events. It's been everywhere, basically. It's got a story. It's got a story, and it's been really nicely built and put together. It's got fabric bits on it as well, fabric body bits, alley bits. Like I say, Fuzz has been over it. 12 to 14 grand. I think you'd struggle to find another one, and I think you'd really struggle to get one in that condition for that money. Touched by the hand of the master, Mr. Car SOS himself. Yes. If you want one, you want that one. We always try and get a run-out Mini in, and you don't really get much later than 2000s. This is a Rover Mini Cooper Sport with the wide arches. Great condition, 46,000 miles this one. It's had a body restoration by Richard Williams Classics in 2014. It's had a gearbox rebuild by Wooden Pickett, who used to be, of course, the tuners of excellence. Loads of bills on file for this. Engine work, suspension work, full book pack, 2 sets of keys, full beautiful leather interior. And I always think that the 2000, you always buy the first to last anything. So buy a 59 or a 2000, because that is the bookend of all Minis. And this is it. This was the swan song, wasn't it, before the Frank Stephenson car came in, which I also love, by the way, and they are starting to become very good news in classic car terms. The bodywork is exceptionally good on this, really nice colour. And you could have that in your garage for 12 to 14,000. The only thing that's been changed on this, it's the non-original Mini lights, which I think really works, like a fake split rim. If you're being a pedant, you could always put that back to the standard Rover wheels, but I actually think they really work, I have to say. What else can I tell you? Supplied in 2000. Service book shows it was under the stewardship of Mini Legends Wooden Pickett in Surrey. Loads of letters. It's got a couple of nice upgrades. Always got KAD brakes on the front as well. So this is very tastefully modified, this. So not just uprated wheels, but uprated brakes as well. And a nice exhaust. So very tastefully modified, that one. And some big speakers. If you like your tunes, it's got big speakers in the back. Pleasant, pleasant motoring. Now we will find this car a home. This is 1971 Austin Mini Cooper S. We think this is the last UK registered Mark III Cooper S that there is in existence. Understood, we think, as I say, by the Cooper register, with only 58,000 miles. Lovely condition, great colour, very much of its time with its matching heritage certificate as well. 24 to 26,000. So the 60s cars are almost unobtainium now, price-wise. I think this is your last chance to get a genuine Cooper, and as we say, with super history and provenance on this one as well. It's glazed with dark navy trim, if you want to know what that is. The interior is unspoilt, still on its 10-inch steel wheels as well, and we think from all the paperwork we've got, that is genuine mileage. That mileage there of 58,000, we think that is legitimate. Please come and satisfy yourself, but everything that we see points to that being exactly what it appears to be. It's obviously had some very nice paintwork at some point. I would be amazed if that's the original paint, but it's just a lovely car. Now, moving on, small but perfectly formed and probably the nicest colour I've ever seen. Look at this 1968 Fiat 500F. 26,000 miles, rare, desirable, another left-hand drive car. And remember, we spoke about that before. Your chance for a bargain. The only downside to a left-hand drive car, because you'll get used to it in a day, I promise you that. The downside to a left-hand drive car is it's quite hard to overtake. Do you honestly think, ladies and gentlemen, that you'll be doing any overtaking in the Fiat 500? You can't overtake runners or cyclists in this. Just cruise. Just enjoy it for what it is. Leisurely, but so stylish, you don't care. The colour combination of this car, for me, is possibly the best I've seen. It's got this beautiful pistachio, but look at the interior. Look at this, Fraser. I defy you to find a nicer looking version than this, colour-wise. 26,000 miles, amazing colour combination. I would concur with that. Loads of new parts. Because it's a left hooker, potentially a bargain for somebody. Look at that. Top of this market, I've seen these cars right-hand drive retail for 20 grand. Engine look, very tidy, very dry looking engine. The car is not Concours, but it's super presentable and therefore super usable. Just have some fun. And talking about cars that everybody loves, and that whole will they let me out at a junction factor. Again, like the Vauxhall we're talking about, everybody smiles and waves, everybody lets you out. Now look at this. If you are a fan of 60s racing minis, this has nailed the look completely. So it isn't a 60s racing mini, but my word, it's doing a good impression. This is actually 77, a Vauxhall Coupe Mini Miglia, one of 38 Miglia chassis numbers registered, 86,000 mile. So it's based on a 77, had a comprehensive restoration in 2019, originally built for Nick Vaught's father and owned by Nick Vaught's son Matthew. Mini Magazine featured one of only 38 Miglia chassis registered and all the paperwork you can imagine. To me, what makes this car so cool is the original little baby 10-inch alloys. There's so many great, I've got quite a lot of mini books and there's so many pictures of these cars racing in the 60s, which this car is obviously evoking with those wheels on. And that is the full Cooper experience, that is. But again, for a fraction of the cost. So you've got the aesthetic, you haven't got the external door hinges, but you've got everything else. You could buy that for between 18 and 20. The paintwork is exceptional. It really is. So it's converted from a stock Mini in 1986, we think, and a partial restoration in 2019, costing just under 10 grand, with another 2,300 spent in 2021 on a full Newton commercial interior in there. And the present owner has spent in excess of £1,000 on parts and maintenance. In 2022, £743 on a carb overhaul. So what we are learning about this car is it's had a very cherished, wonderful life with huge amounts of money spent and a lot of conscientious owners who have really been giving it what it needs at really no regard to cost. We like those people. Love that filler. That's great, isn't it? So all of the fun of a 60s car at the price of a 70s car. What's not to love? Now the 64 Morris Mini Travel. Again, this is a car that we've had through before. I think we'll find it at home. Outstanding condition and just a really beautiful older restoration. So you can see you've got tiny bits of patination on the chrome, which I really don't mind at all. Paintwork is in fabulous condition and it's a smooth roof, which I always think is very, very pretty. And the thing about this being an earlier car, this has got all of the genius. This is all the stuff that got taken out of the later car. So look at the door bins, how big the storage solution. The whole point of the Mini was, with these original bins and the pull cords and the sliding windows, where obviously later cars had drop glasses which take all the door space away, with storage space. Itagonis was a genius. And the idea was you could fill the dashboard with stuff, you could put bottles of wine in the door cards, and it's just been really nicely restored, this. And why the Travellers are so good is they just have so much more room. They're a little bit longer wheelbase. So if you look at that, there is enough room for me to sit in the front, the 6'4". But yeah, if you look in the back, look how much legroom's in the back. It's a true 4-seater, possibly even a 5-seater. And then you get a boot. Just look at the size of the boot. That's bigger than a lot of current baby SUVs. So you've got a tiny little car. And again, going back to cars that are easy to live with, that are a wonderful ownership experience, you can get everything for a Mini tomorrow. Easy car. But that's a genuine 4 or even 5-seat car and room for the dog that you can take to a classic car show. 12 to 14 grand for a slidey window, external hinged, rare Mini. That to me is one of the cheapest ways of getting the look, the 60s look, in a car that's eminently usable for not a huge amount of money, 12 to 14 grand. I would like to own that. If you're a little bit younger, if a Metro is more your thing, you will remember the furore that came when the MG Metro came out, how exciting it was. A genuine lukewarm hot hatch. But these things were exciting. Things like pepper pot alloys, these deep bucket sports seats were exciting in 1983 when this car came out. Look at it. And unlike the Minis, where everybody thought to save the Minis, nobody thought to save the Metros, which is such a shame because they're actually a really nice car, which makes survivors like this all the more interesting. This is an 83, cherished example in lovely condition, particularly the interior. Look at the interior, Fraser. Look. That is like time warp. Now, we know this BL stuff is extraordinarily good news. They've gone through the doldrums. They've gone to the point where they weren't worth anything. They are now very much worth something. Stunning example, this one. Comprehensive refurbishment by the existing owner over the last 3 years. And they spent 10 grand. 2 previous owners, super long MOT, loads of invoices. And it's historic. 83. Drive this in London. ULEZ exempt, tax exempt, MOT exempt, everything exempt. The only thing you'd have to pay on that is congestion charge, isn't it? So if you live in London, this could be very funny. Need the key for that. It's really nice condition, guys. Beautiful, beautiful on the bodywork. Let me give you some more facts. Some new old stock decals have been found. It's got the correct registration plates on there. And I said that interior, I've not seen the interior like that forever. Do have a look at the pictures, have a look at the paperwork, or if you've got the time, come and have a look. Just ready to go. And these really have become extraordinarily fashionable. Like I say, 5, 6, 7 years ago, it was tough to get a good price for a BL car. People hadn't realised actually how important they were in the history of British motoring. Now everybody's realised that yes, fast Fords are great, fast Vauxhalls are great, but actually BL cars, particularly the MG badge ones, are actually quite desirable little things. And for that reason, because there are not many left, they're now worth a lot of money. How about an Austin Mini 30? Celebrating 30 years of the Mini in 1989, because the Mini was launched in 1959. One keeper, 16,000 miles. And totally original. Because it's totally original, there are tiny imperfections. Like I've just noticed a tiny dent in the wing. I've noticed a bit of very light scuffing on the roof, which will all polish out, I would wager. Without that, if you correct that roof, that'll all come out. This is the thing when you buy an original car, though. Obviously, it's had a life. It's done stuff. But this one really wouldn't take a lot to make it concours, I wouldn't have thought. And with one owner and 16,000 miles, I would say that would be time and money well spent. Look inside. It's fabulous. So all original paint, all original decals, all original interior. Remarkable condition. Still got its original Phillips radio. All of its rear window stickers and matching Dunlops on it. What a lovely thing. Restored Minis are always lovely, but to find an original car, as I say, an original car I think you can add value to as well. You wouldn't need to spend a lot of time or money to make this car perfect. And it's time warp. It really is very, very lovely. So this one here, moving around, another Mini 30 in the other colour, another 1989, 18,000 miles, drives and presents beautifully. So we've got two Mini 30s, quite a rare car to get ever. We've got two and they've both got extraordinarily low mileage. So it's almost down to which colour would you like? You prefer the black or the burgundy? This one's got the aftermarket roof. Also very, very nice on the body, this one as well, with a lovely interior. Let's have a look. It's got loads of invoices and receipts, previous MOTs which back up the mileage. And the owner says to us, all I've done to the car in the last 18 months is fit new gas shock absorbers, a stage 1 exhaust manifold, a new exhaust, changed the needle valve in the SU carb, and fitted electronic ignition. So again, really nice, tasteful and sensible modifications that just make the car nicer to live with. So only 18,000 miles from you. And in some years, if you look at the MOT history, the car was doing 20 miles a year, which I'm guessing is driving to and from the MOT. But still serviced every year. So 10 to 12 grand would buy you that one. So just take your choice really. Which one would you rather have? Anniversary cars are really good. Now I could say to you that the Mini 30 is a rare car, but here's the third one that we have for sale in the next sale. Now this one, sit down for this one. 16,000, 18,000. Are you ready? 18 miles, not 18,000, 18. This is a new car. Would you like to buy a Mini 30? Would you like to go back in time to 1989, put your money down in the showroom and drive off with a brand new Mini? Well, this is your chance. This is your chance to buy that. We talk about time warp, don't we? But really time warp means it's just come through unscathed, unused. This is that car. 18 miles, super low mileage, advisory free MOT. As you can imagine, went to the MOT, it flew through. I've never seen anything quite like it. So after we picked up the MOT tester from the floor, he very kindly wrote us a ticket. So supplied new in 1989 to Mr. Brian Thurston of London. And it just has been stored and kept and looked after. So not many invoices because it's not done anything. It's just been kept in humidified storage. And look at this. Have you seen this? Still got the line stickers on the window. Look at that. Never been used. So there you go. Your chance to buy for 17 to 19,000 pounds. But don't forget, they don't make these anymore. You couldn't restore a car for 17 to 19,000 pounds. And even if you did, it wouldn't be a genuine old Mini. The only downside to that, the mileage is so silly, you probably won't use it. But here's my advice. Buy this, drive it, enjoy it, have some fun with it. You might lose a couple of grand, but who cares? You lose that the second you drove any new car off the forecourt. Buy that, have some fun with it, get the whole new Mini experience. I think that's a huge amount of fun. Right, so there you go. That is the end of our first video. Please make sure you've liked, subscribed, rang that bell. There's loads of videos. I think there's at least 2 more car videos and, of course, a bike video with the legend that is Steve Berry. I hope to see you on Saturday, either online or in person. But don't forget, if you haven't registered to bid, you can't. So I'll see you there.